Thank you. Uh, oh, Daryl, I bought this new iPad, and my old iPad worked beautifully. I could just plug it in, plug the tie line in, plug the station in, and that was it. This new iPad, nothing has worked. So now they're telling me, oh my goodness, well, it's too late to return it. And I'm like, whoa, you all told me go listen to what you all asked me to do. You all told me that thank you so much. What I needed to do was try this one, and then get back to you. I said, now I can't return this thing. I said, this is not working for me. Oh, it's just one thing after another. Oh boy, oh boy. But it's an exciting day, so we're going to get right to that. Let me know, Coach May, when we get the attorneys up, okay? CK might not come up until 7, but that's going to be a very abbreviated segment. But Daryl and I got this. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything. Hey, everybody. Woo. Change the world. We can change the world. We can change the world. Change the world. This is the Santita Jackson Show. And hate to pay for love. It's not too late. Gotta save the children. We can't wait. Let's change the world. Oh, Philip, thank you for those prayers of strength. I need them today. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show on WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio. The voice of progressive Minnesota. Meet my morning stars on the Santita Jackson Show page on YouTube and on the Santita Jackson and Friends page on Facebook, everybody. Been trying to work this out. I'm putting it out there. iPad Pro, you all haven't been doing me any justice because my iPad Pro worked before beautifully. And then it stopped. It stopped at the end of March, and I have had such the hardest time. I have not been able to make this new iPad Pro work with the system that is compatible with the radio station. Yeah, I'm putting it out there. And guess what? Then they told me yesterday that it's too late to return it. I said, but I've been telling you I'm a broadcaster. This thing is not working for me. I'm hot, very warm about it because I want you all to get the show that you need and deserve. So we're going to work it out today. Okay. All right, everybody. We're talking about midterms 2020. And as we do that, we got to get our food. Now, we've got attorney CK Hoffler, and we've got attorney Daryl Jones. People you owe big meals to. Celebrations by us. What's going on, Chaparro?
Hey, Santita, thank you so much for having us on. Yes, a celebration by us. We are winding down our prom season. This is our final weekend for prom, as well as also we're rolling right into graduation, trunk parties, as well as also our wedding season. So please don't hesitate to give us a call at 708-526-4546, 708-526-4546. We're still catering all of your meals, whether you need ribs for Memorial Day, as well as also spaghetti, mozzarella, mac and cheese, baked beans, whatever it is that you need. Don't hesitate to give us a call at 708-526-4546, 708-526-4546. Thank you so much.
Oh, no. Hold on. I forgot this is Memorial Day weekend. Wait. Now, what you going to make for me? Just a little something? What you going to do?
One of our customers, so we'll be doing ribs and jerk chicken, as well as also hot links and everything for barbecue season.
Yeah, okay. You didn't tell me what you're gonna give to me though. No, she's not. No, she's not. No, she's not. No, she's not. I'm not gonna get anything. But that's all right. I know it's all great. Just some baked beans and some grilled chicken. How about that? Did she drop me? Did she drop me, y'all? I think she's dropping me. Oh, Daryl, she dropped me. CK, she's dropping me. She's dropping me. She said, oh, okay. Oh, I can't hear you. It's static. No, that was earlier in the show, everybody. Hey, all my people, Daryl and Shirley from beautiful Philadelphia and Philip from Eastern Pennsylvania. They're still you all still don't have a Republican nominee for that Senate seat. Woo-hoo. D-Ray, Laura,
and Zenobia. Love that name. Remember Madam Zenobia from, that Uptown Saturday Night franchise, from Bill Cosby and Sidney Poitier. And of course, the iconic Harry Belafonte and Calvin Lockhart. It was Rosalind Cash. Don't let me get started. That was such a great franchise. Oh my goodness, I need to get that. Marquez and everybody sending you much love today. Everybody like and share the show. We're talking about the midterms. Told you it would be here. It seems like we're still litigating 2020, the presidential election. But before you know it, time marches on because even as we've been relitigating 2020, the Republicans have marched on, and Democrats have too. And so now we are looking at Arkansas, Alabama, Minnesota, Texas, and Georgia. They are having primaries today. In Chicago and the state of Illinois, we will have our primaries on June 28th. And we're going to have Delia Ramirez, who is the state representative from Chicago. She is running. She's going to be commenting on these primaries. We have Jonathan Jackson on. I've invited all these congressional candidates from the 1st Congressional District onto my show. So far, they're the only ones who've accepted, but that's all right. I'm going to continue to reach out. That having been said, it's time for you to make sure that you're still registered to vote. Go to vote.org, vote.org. And Attorney C.K. Hoffler, immediate past president of the National Bar Association and chair of Rainbow Push. We're going to have Janice Mathis, executive director of the National Council of Negro Women, with us shortly. But let me start with you, Attorney Darrell Jones, Transformative Justice Coalition. You and Barbara Argline are perhaps the foremost voting rights advocates in the United States. And you have been pushing voter registration and voter safety, voter access. You do it every single day. He's the chair of the Transformative Justice Coalition. We're seeing, wow, even with these new voter suppression laws in Georgia, which are quite suppressive, we're seeing record turnout. Does that surprise you? And what should happen if you get to the polls and you find that your name has been purged from the list? Should you accept the provisional ballot? What do you do? I mean, because many of us don't pay attention until election time, that is the weeks and days leading up to. What do you do if, failing all of that, or if leading into the season you just find that things are not quite right with your registration? What do you do, Attorney Jones?
Thank you so much, Santita. And you're right. This is the high time of the season when everyone starts concentrating on voting and going to the polls. The most important thing to do immediately, if you find yourself being denied access to being able to vote, is to call this number, 866 our vote, 866 OURVOTE. And that voter hotline, someone will answer your questions. They'll walk you through the process to be certain that you are able to cast that ballot. You can also look for an election protection worker that may be there, that should be on scene at your polling place. They should have a shirt or an armband on indicating that they're there. They're there to answer your questions and to help guide you through any issues that you encounter. But if you encounter any issues at the poll along those lines, you should immediately call 866 our vote. And as you indicated, Georgia is just experiencing just a great surge of voters that are coming to the polls now, and all the suppressive techniques that have been put in place. It has challenged the voters, but the voters are going to rise to the challenge. And you got to remember, at least on the Democratic side of the ticket, you have voters coming out in numbers, and you do not have at the head of the ticket, the top of the ticket, really contested races. The gubernatorial candidate is running unopposed, the senatorial candidate is unopposed, basically unopposed. So you don't really have a real cause celeb for the voters to come out now for the top of the ticket. They're coming out now in numbers because the Georgia legislature has told them and put in place measures to try to stop them, to impede them from getting to the polls. So they want to be certain that they get that right. And that's what's exciting many of the Georgia voters at this point in time. So it's really exciting to watch it all go down. But more importantly, and very importantly, Santita, we need people to go to vote.org now. Be certain that your registration is up to date. There's that you're still on the rolls, that you haven't been purged. You need to go there and be certain that your polling place has not been moved. Go to vote.org and check your voter registration status now, so that when you go to the poll to vote, you're going to the correct poll. Check the timing. All of this stuff, when the hours of the poll are open, so that you know exactly what you're doing. Do not anticipate that you can go and do a drop box on the outside anywhere, because they don't exist. They're all inside. And so your times for voting in Georgia for drop boxes are going to be the same times that the polling places, the polling sites are open. But go to vote.org and check on your status, and then call 866-OURVOTE if you encounter any problems at the polls voting.
You know, and you and Attorney Arline will be talking about this on your own radio show on tomorrow, as will C.K. Hoffler on WAOK in Atlanta today. Well, you can get all the beauty of the internet is that we can hear all of these shows all over the country. How can we hear you and Attorney Arline tomorrow?
Absolutely. We're on from 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you can catch us on at 1450 a.m. in the D.C. metropolitan area, or you can go to WOLDCnews.com and WOLDCnews.com, and we're on again from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. And the name of our show is Igniting Change, as we ignite change across the country.
Everybody, it's tomorrow from 12 to 1 Eastern Standard Time. That's 11 to 12 our time in Central Time. You don't want to miss it. And, you know, I'm doubtless he and Attorney Arline will be taking us through the process of this vote. We've got Attorney C.K. Hoffler, who, of course, has her own show. She will be on WAOK right after this show, pretty much, but she's been on television too, MSNBC, ABC, everywhere, the court TV, really going through the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial, which has garnered more interest all over the world than perhaps any news story in the world. Is unbelievable. But there are a lot of issues at play there. Probably we need to talk about that, Attorney Hoffler. And of course, we've got the executive director of the National Council of Negro Women, Attorney Janice Mathis. Sisters-in-law, she and her beautiful sister have their own radio show. I'm going to get to you in a hot second. But let me start with you, CK, because you live in Atlanta. And they're saying, the data shows that you've just had unbelievable turnout, even with these new voter suppression laws. What is going on? Like more than 700,000 as of a few days ago were voting early. Are there any indications of who's voting? What's going on? What's spurring this? Is it the 2020 election? Is it Stacey Abrams? Is it Raphael Warnock? Is it Raphael and Herschel? Is it President Trump? You've got the perfect storm in Georgia.
Well, good morning, Santita. It's all of the above. You know, people in Georgia were just upset beyond belief. Many of them, many Democrats, many progressives, and actually some Republicans, about the voter suppression laws that were passed right after the presidential election. And they were also very, very upset just think of it, within 24 hours of the Senate runoff election, when John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock won to be the first Jewish American senator out of the state of Georgia and the first African American senator out of Georgia. Within 24 hours, we saw the insurrection and the attempted coup at the Capitol. So people in Georgia have been hot, tired of all of the political shenanigans of voter suppression. And so I think what we are seeing is a result of people being tired, number one. Secondly, we're seeing the results of the extraordinarily effective grassroots efforts and civil rights organizations that never stopped working in Georgia, that were very effective during the presidential election, very effective during the Senate runoff elections, and that have continued to fight voter suppression. There's a lot of litigation against the voter suppression. We were involved, many on this call were involved in the challenges to voter suppression in the form of purging people from the rolls. And that is continuing. And so the voters are really sick and tired and are speaking truth to power by voting in record numbers. And then we've got an incredible slate. And many organizations, such as GABLA, the Georgia Association of Black Women Attorneys, and other organizations have published really a 2022 general primary and general nonpartisan endorsement. So you've got organizations that are giving the voters guidelines as to potentially how to vote. So we've got at the top of the race, we've got the U.S. Senate. Raphael Warnock is up for re-election. It's critically important. He actually and John Ossoff are the ones that delivered the Democratic Party those 50 votes in the U.S. Senate. That's very important. We would not have, let's be clear, we likely would not have Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, but for them winning the Senate runoff races. And then we also have the gubernatorial race against Stacey Abrams. She's the only one, just like Raphael Warnock is the only one, running on the Democratic ticket. Then we have, for Secretary of State, we've got John Eves. We've got for the Attorney General, we've got Jen Jordan. We have the Georgia Supreme Court, Verna Colvin. So we've got an incredible slate, and then we're telling people, vote down ballot. It's incredibly important. There's some Superior Court judges that are on the slate as well. And when we talk about voter suppression, we talk about who's in charge, the clerk of court, the solicitor general. It's important for us to vote down ballot in Georgia and throughout the country. So, Santina, people are just hot, and they're tired of the voter suppression. They're willing to wait in lines if necessary, and that's why their record turnout, because they want to see their voices reflected. They're sick and tired of what they've been seeing in Georgia, where there's voter suppression, where you can't even hand someone a bottle of water or food. So this is background. You're seeing young people that are saying, what? And they're turning out record numbers. African Americans saying, you got to be kidding, turning out record numbers. Black and brown people, progressive, turning out record numbers. And again, we have some liberal Republicans that are saying, enough is enough. This business about the governor and the Secretary of State, they have manipulated the process to the detriment of the people of Georgia.
Attorney Janice Mathis, Executive Director of the National Council of Negro Women. What say you? Because these elections increasingly have been turning on Black women. Black people, Black women outvote everybody. I mean, everybody in every demographic in the United States. A, why is that so? And what is in it for women in this election? I mean, Black women, brown women, white women, yellow women, red women, all women. Not that we're excluding men, we're not. But, women, all women, including white women, make less than what white men make, right? I mean, the pay gap is real, but your mortgage and your rent cost, it's the same. And there is a lot. I mean, we're looking at reproductive rights, the attack upon those. We're looking at a lot of stuff that it just seems like everything's on the table right now. But all eyes are on Georgia. I mean, what is it? I mean, what is it? And do you see Black women in particular and women just generally getting more involved? I mean, with Stacey Abrams kind of at the top of the state ticket. What do you make of that race? I mean, it seems like it's a rematch made in heaven.
Well, good morning, Santita, and thanks again, and good morning to all of your other guests, all of whom I admire and respect. Yes, women are fired up, and I think it goes back to Ketanji Brown Jackson. That confirmation series of hearings put into relief and into view in a way that hadn't been made that clear before, just how important the right to vote is. Certainly, we wouldn't have had a nominee like Ketanji Brown Jackson if the presidential election had gone in a different way. The other thing I think is key to watch as we go through this primary season is just how important it is, how important redistricting has turned out to be. You look at Georgia, and you've got Lucy McBath running against Carolyn Bordeaux in North Georgia. Similar voting records, both Democrat, but the district has been reconfigured so that there's much less Black and more white voters in that district. And that's going to tell a story, not just in Georgia, but across the country. The race is already occurred in North Carolina, but North Carolina won. A lot of your listeners probably have heard of G.K. Butterfield, got drawn out of his district. Lucy McBath district was redistricted in a way, redrawn in a way that makes it less likely that she could win. And that's happening all over the country where we've seen how partisan gerrymandering of these congressional and state districts has changed the likely outcome. The other race that I'm paying close attention to, and it's a Republican race, is what's going to happen with Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger. Raffensperger was the rare Southern Republican who stood up to Donald Trump and said, no, I can't find you any extra votes to win. He's being challenged by Jody Hice, Trump disciple, for Secretary of State. And we know how important, from watching January the 6th and the aftermath, how important it is that Secretary of State's role. Purdue is challenging Trump's chosen candidate in Georgia, Brian Kemp. It's likely that Purdue is not going to win because Brian Kemp has also distanced himself to some extent from Donald Trump, and even had the former vice president in Georgia to campaign with him.
Well, hold on. Let me ask you about this, because we saw from Stacey Abrams' campaign just how important the Secretary of State is. What is that race looking like, and what does that portend for the fall? When we have the elections, Attorney Mathis.
Well, that's going to be a tough race. The challenger has his own issues. He's been under indictment for securities fraud since 2015 and was accused in 2020 of bribery and abuse of his office. Of course, that didn't stop him from getting the former President Trump's endorsement. So will the Republican GOP primary voters in Georgia choose somebody under indictment against somebody who stood up against Trump? That will be a good test of just how much power the former president still has over the GOP. Same thing is going on in Florida, in Texas, where one of the Bush family members is in a race to challenge for a seat down there, and you just don't know how it's going to turn out. But it'll tell a good story, an important story about where we are.
Well, my question is, just very quickly, I want to go to the panel. I've got about a couple of minutes left here. Where are we? And why is, in your estimation, I'll start with you, Janice, and I'll roll back to CK and then to Attorney Jones. Why is Georgia, like, all eyes on Georgia today? You got Alabama, you've got a primary that's happening in Minnesota. Don't want to forget about that today. Arkansas, Alabama, Texas. We're looking at the Cisneros race in Texas. That's a big deal. We'll have John Nichols on at the bottom of the next hour to talk about that as well. And they still do not have a Republican nominee in Pennsylvania. But why are all eyes on Georgia, in your estimation, Attorney Mathis?
Georgia's at a tipping point. Years ago, Georgia politics was characterized by a former governor as two Georgias. The metropolitan areas of Atlanta and DeKalb and cities like Savannah and Augusta tend to vote one way. And then you've got rural Georgia, very much a tale of two states. And now they are competitive in terms of demographic and competitive economically, because you've got that engine of show business and movie making in Atlanta and the suburbs of Atlanta that have changed the landscape. And then you add activists like my good friend Barbara Arnwine and the Transformative Justice Coalition and Stacey Abrams and Helen Butler and many others who are fiercely contesting and making sure black folks know how to vote and when and where to vote. So Georgia's our newest purple state. And it's a big deal because there's a lot of people there, a lot of votes there, and a lot of economic power in Atlanta.
And how can we hear you on the Salem Network?
We're at 96.9, Rejoice 96.9 out of Greenville, South Carolina, but available everywhere on the internet. The show is called Sisters-in-Law. It airs on Sunday night at 7:30.
CK, you're going to be talking about this today on your show. at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 10 o'clock Central Standard Time. And you've just opened up the phone lines to hear what people are saying. I've got about 30 seconds. What are they saying about Georgia?
What they're saying about Georgia is we can make history again. And so we're opening up the phone lines. We're going to start with a primer on voting to make sure people know their rights. And then we're going to open up the lines to hear what people are thinking and to give them the opportunity to express how they feel.
You know, when you come back, of course, Attorney C.K. Hoffler on WAOK today at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 10 o'clock Central Standard Time. Catch her on, she's on Court TV, MSNBC, everywhere she needs to be. We need to get Attorney Mathis on there. I know she's going to get angry with me because she doesn't like to do that sort of thing, but she's great too. And Attorney Daryl Jones, when we get back, as we talk about these races that are such tremendous consequence, I also want to have a little mini primer, as you just mentioned, Attorney Hoffler, on voting. I think it's important for people to know if you run into trouble in the polls as you're voting, don't leave. Do not leave. Stay right there. Call 1-866-OUR-VOTE. Do not leave until your issue has been resolved. Don't leave. Don't leave. Go to 1-866-OUR-VOTE. And right now, go to vote.org. Vote.org. I've seen it happen in real time. Some people are very conscientious, who didn't think that they had been purged from the rolls. They were shocked. Happened in real time on the other show that I produced, Keep Hope Alive, with Reverend Jesse Jackson, my engineer and my regular co-host. Just during the commercial break, found out that they had been purged from the rolls. It can happen to anybody. In fact, it's happening to many bodies, millions. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a few minutes. Hello, beautiful people. You all there? Hey.
Yeah.
Oh, I have had a day, okay? Whew. A day. But it's all right. But boy, you all have it. It is on and cracking in Georgia. One of my dear friends has wanted me to get a place down there forever. I was like, no, I don't want to. No. But there's so much that's going on down there, and the living is so easy and beautiful. Oh, wow. But when Stacey Abrams wrote down maternal mortality, you're number one in that, 48th in mental health care, I said, whew, there's a lot going on up under that beautiful surface. That's the United States.
Well, Georgia's a state that has not expanded Medicaid, too.
I mean, wow. Well, when we get back on the, that's unbelievable. When we get back on the other side, I want you to look at Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker, if you all don't mind, and just weigh in on that. Because it appears that Herschel Walker is going to be the Republican nominee, yes?
Yes. Yeah. And I hope he is a Republican nominee. Because he'll be easy to beat.
Honey, wait a minute.
I hope they don't wake up and find somebody else.
Let me tell you something. Bernard Epton, do you remember him? Let me refresh your memories. He was Harold Washington's opponent when he ran for mayor in 1983. And everyone knew that Mr. Epton was struggling mentally. And in fact, the night of the election, we knew he had mental health issues, and it was brought up in the campaign, but people, at that time were so intense, they were voting up really across racial lines. We looked up, do you know that Harold Washington barely won the night of the election? And guess where Bernard Epton was? In the mental health ward, in the psych ward. We almost elected a man who was in the psych ward the night of the election. You cannot make this stuff up. So let us be clear.
I can't take it for granted. Can't take anything for granted, for sure. But I can't believe, and I don't like that Herschel Walker is being used in this way. I don't like it at all, because he has some very, very significant issues.
He really does.
And there's information that has not even come out yet, because his history is sorted with, things that you do expect when people do have very significant mental challenges. And so I hate that that's happening, but we cannot get carried away. Raphael Warnock must win. He's been a phenomenal senator for the state of Georgia, and on so many levels. So he must win. So Herschel Walker, if they want to come up, then we just got to go for broke and make sure that Raphael Warnock is reelected. That's how I feel.
No, I feel that way too. But that's why I brought up Bernard Epton. Because you can perfume up anything, and I feel for Herschel Walker, because after talking with Janice yesterday, who is the daughter of a football coach, so beyond our own interests, she was breaking down football for me, because she looks at football differently than the rest of us do, because she was raised by a great football coach. I mean, you just do. I mean, you look at it strategically, and also if you're into football, that's what you do. And the way you, but just very quickly, I've got about 30 seconds. You said that they really used Herschel Walker almost like a mule.
He's been used throughout his life, from the time he was a teenager, even before he left high school. But what I noticed
hold on.
was that he was used like a mule. No imagination in the offensive play strategy. Herschel to the left, Herschel to the right, Herschel up the middle. He would run through opponents. No concern for his physical safety or his long-term longevity as a player. And who knows what effect being knocked upside the head the way he was at Georgia did to his mental state. We know now things about football that we didn't know then.
Absolutely. I mean, because when I see him now, beyond the fact that he has had a history of mental health problems. I think of CTE. I think of so much. I mean, I look at Tony Dorsett now, one of the loves of my young life. And he doesn't, his mind is gone. And it breaks your heart. It breaks your heart. And you see how they just propped him up, and they just ran, and they've run him. And, and then you see his son has some challenges. And, I don't go after people on their personal stuff. I just don't. Because people are people, everybody. Even when you're my opponent, I'm not going to do that to you. I'm not with that. And I hate to see him.
To see the way he was abused as a player, and then when he left, they built a new field house and called it the house that Herschel built. His high school football coach advised him to stay out of student protests when he was a senior in high school. Don't get involved in politics. Of course, a white coach was giving him that advice, and that's 30 seconds. Some of this from Georgia, Herman Cain. There are a lot of examples of that kind of point of view.
It breaks your heart. It breaks your heart, because he has never looked to be at home anywhere. So stand by, everybody. We're coming up. But boy, that was a different view. Thank you for that, Janice. Yesterday, that changed everything for me. When you said that, I said, "Oh wow."
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Hey everybody, it's election day. That's right. We are in the primary season of 2022. The midterms are here. Are you registered to vote? Are you still registered to vote? I'm Santita Jackson from the Santita Jackson Show on WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. I want you to go to my YouTube channel, the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Like and subscribe, everybody. And the Santita Jackson and Friends page, that is where I can accept friends, everybody. The other page is my landing page. I can't accept any more friends there at all. But just join me on the Santita Jackson and Friends page and my Morning Stars. Thank you all for bearing with us this morning as we work through some kinks. It is primary day. We even having a primary up in Minnesota. That's right. But Alabama, Arkansas, Texas, and all eyes are on Georgia. You've got everything. The New York Times says, wait a minute, it's like the perfect storm. You've got the celebrity candidates. You've got President Trump's involvement. You've got, and well, avenged 2020 and 2018 campaigns, right? There's so much going on. You've got voter suppression laws run amok, but you have record-breaking early voter turnout. There's a lot going on, and so I think it could be a harbinger of things to come for 2022 in the fall and 2024, and really America as we continue to evolve and develop. I'm Santita Jackson. I want you to call me and this magnificent panel. John Nichols will be joining Attorney C.K. Hoffler, Attorney Janice Mathis, and Attorney Darrell Jones. And we're going to have State Representative Delia Ramirez on with us. She is, of course, running here, endorsed by Chuy Garcia. Going to get some thoughts from her. In the Congress, you only have 3% Latinas. I mean, we hope that she gets in because those voices need to be heard, everybody. They need to be heard. They need to be heard. Everybody in Minneapolis, St. Paul, 70 degrees, partly cloudy. It's going to be a little cooler in Chicago, 62 degrees, partly cloudy. The Dow closed up 618 points yesterday. The NASDAQ closed up 180 points. The S&P 500 closed up 72 points. In the NBA, well, we're getting down to down, as they used to say in my dormitory at Howard University. The Celtics and the Heat are tied at two wins apiece. But the Celtics, boy, they took it to the Heat last night, 102 to 82. And the Mavs will be playing the Warriors tonight. The Warriors might close it out 3-0. That is the advantage they have over the Mavericks, everybody. In the Stanley Cup playoffs, who's going to be the champion? Don't know. The Lightning 2, the Panthers 0, the Avalanche 6, the Blues 3, and the Hurricanes will be playing the Rangers tonight. Call me and let's talk about politics, everybody, on the Santita Jackson Show, 773-763-9278, 773-763 WCPT. President Joe Biden today met with other leaders of the Quad nations, Japan, India, and Australia at an in-person summit in Tokyo to discuss the ongoing war in Ukraine and other pressing issues. He's been trying to lean on the non-aligned nation of India, one of the most populous nations on earth, to join in with the West. So far, they have resisted, and they have done it in a very, very fulsome fashion. So we will see how all of this goes. They have a lot of business with Russia, like a lot of oil business and a lot of other philosophical alignment. So we will see how this works. The leaders talked about their responses to the humanitarian crisis in Ukraine and reiterated their strong resolve to maintain the peace and stability in the region, everybody. 3 child-sized doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine appeared to be safe and showed a strong immune response in children ages 6 months to 5 years. The companies announced yesterday the trial results found vaccine efficacy of 80.3%. Are you going to get your baby or your toddler or your young one who's on the way to kindergarten vaccinated for COVID-19? Let me know. 773-763-9278. 773-763-9278. We're talking about these elections today. I want to hear from you, everybody. 773-763-9278. In response to a global outbreak of the monkeypox cases, the U.S. is working to release a vaccine from the nation's strategic national stockpile to combat the rare virus. There is 1 confirmed case of monkeypox and 4 suspected cases in the United States, according to the CDC. The confirmed case is a man in Massachusetts, and 4 other suspected cases are in New York, Florida, and Utah. While anyone can get or spread monkeypox, quote, a notable fraction of cases, close quote, in the latest global outbreak are happening among gay and bisexual men and is coming out of Africa. People are warning not to run amok with homophobia and racism. This is sounding like the beginning of the AIDS crisis, but monkeypox virus is not nearly as virulent as that, and nor is it as virulent as COVID-19, untreated COVID-19. We all know that if you treat COVID-19 early enough, it is highly survivable, highly survivable. Everybody, before we get into the election itself, I want to talk to you about saving your home. If you want to purchase a new home, refinance your existing home, secure a VA loan or reverse mortgage, or if you want to build your credit, if you need to rebuild your credit, if you have massive credit card debt, I want you to call Team Hochberg at 855-56-DAVID, 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 or 855-563-2843, or go to 56david.com, 56david.com. Tell them your story. You get a free consultation. Once you do that, they can set up a program for you and save your home, help you to buy a home. They can really set you on the road to financial freedom. David respects veterans and wants to do something more than just say it, everybody. So to thank veterans for their commitment to our country, as we're coming into that Memorial Day weekend, he will be waiving their loan origination costs, which are currently $1,250, everybody. The next time Team Hochberg originates a VA or PHA or conventional loan. So, hey everybody, call Team Hochberg to thank veterans for their commitment to our country. Team Hochberg will be waiving their loan origination costs, which is currently $1,250, everybody. The next time Team Hochberg originates a VA, FHA, or conventional loan. So, this is thanking over 1 million veterans within the Chicagoland area for their service to our country. Please call Team Hochberg because he is waiving that $1,250 fee, everybody, for VA, FHA, or conventional loans. 855-56-DAVID. 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, or 56david.com. Please, 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 you can be financially free. We are joining attorney Janice Mathis, who is the executive director of the National Council of Negro Women, Mary McLeod Bethune, Dr. Janetta Cole, Dr. Dorothy Height, and now attorney Janice Mathis, of course, hosts her own show on the Salem Network. It comes on Sunday nights, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. You don't want to miss it, of course. Attorney C.K. Hoffler, WAOK, she's going to roll off of this show onto TV and onto her own show today, as she is talking about so many of these wonderful cases. She's opening up the phone lines on WAOK to hear your thoughts about the election in Georgia. And of course, Attorney Darrell Jones. Go to BarbaraArnwine.com and WOL in DC. And tomorrow at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, you should hear them as they give you a primer on voting and go over what happened or what's going to happen today. But in the meantime, let me start off with State Representative Delia Ramirez, who is running for Congress. Of course, Congressman Chuy Garcia has endorsed you. He endorsed my brother too, and we endorsed him when he ran for mayor. And we are so excited about your run and what it portends. I'm so glad that you're joining this wonderful panel today, because we see women really breaking through. State Representative Ramirez. We see Stacey Abrams coming back in Georgia, and hope that she wins. We see Mrs. Cisneros. Really, she's got a real shot at getting that and winning this primary today. What do you make of these primaries? And you have your own coming up here in Illinois on June 28th. What do you make of what's happening, of what we're seeing in Georgia with President Trump and Stacey Abrams and Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker? It's just a full plate, State Representative Ramirez.
Yeah, I think it's a projection, right, of what we're going to see here in Illinois in 35 days, what we're going to see in November, and what we're going to see Republicans do. I mean, literally anything and everything to take over and to take back what they believe is theirs, right? And I remember watching the primaries last Tuesday, and I had friends and folks in my own political space ask me, why are you so obsessed with checking the voting results in Philadelphia? Why are you checking every 5 minutes how Summer Lee is doing in Pennsylvania? For me, it's very telling what happens in Pennsylvania, what happens in Texas and in Georgia as we prepare ourselves even next Tuesday for the primaries. 35 days from now, what
feels like next Tuesday
Right.
here in Illinois and other parts of the country. I'm getting a little anxious here, right? But also, I think it's also a reminder for us that in cases like Summer Lee, when you saw more than $2.3 million put in to attack her credibility and to question how democratic she is, because she's a progressive. That tells us that there are super PACs and others who will continue to do so across the country because they believe that as long as they can put all the money they can in super PACs, that they can take this country from its community, from its people. And so we have to be watching very, very closely. And we celebrate that Summer Lee won, and we understand that everything is on the line on these elections. And that these groups are expecting for Democrats to stay home. And we must go out and vote like our life depends on it. Because it does.
And because it does, of course. That is State Representative Delia Ramirez, who is running for Congress here in Chicago. She is at the top of the polls, but do not rest, everybody, because you got to get out and vote. You know, it's when you mentioned the super PACs, let me shift over to Attorney Mathis and to attorneys Mathis, Hoffler, and Jones. These super PACs are playing a huge role, and it seems like Herschel Walker is one big walking, talking super PAC. Attorney Mathis. I mean, they're throwing race, Black people's natural bent toward conservatism, and a whole lot of things at Raphael Warnock. Kind of analyze that race for us. Raphael Warnock's Reverend Dr. Raphael Warnock, now Senator Raphael Warnock, and Herschel Walker, who is an icon, quite frankly, in all of college football and in professional football. He's an athletic icon. He is.
He certainly is that. And I think even just as significantly, he is backed by one of the most well-funded athletic programs in the country. Only Southern Cal and Michigan have better funded football programs, athletic programs than the University of Georgia. And they're not just well-funded. They fill up 100,000-seat stadium 7 or 8 times a year in Athens, a town with barely 100,000 residents. And they are they call themselves the Bulldog Nation. And they see this, their current national champs, for those who don't follow college football. One of the last times they were national champs was when Herschel Walker led the offense for the team. And so you've got people who never set foot in a college who wear the red and black symbols of the University of Georgia. And they see this as a point of pride, a point of asserting their influence over the state in the face of this burgeoning Black, female, urban activist contingent that is led so ably by Stacey Abrams. And so this is kind of a civil war being replayed in Georgia, and as is often the case, it's got a Black superhero stud type character carrying the banner and say, well, we're not racist because we've got Herschel. But Herschel has never been closely associated with his racial identity, and certainly that's his choice. But that's what you're seeing play out, and I'm curious and anxious to see how Black men, many of whom are avid football fans, break in this race. Will they support Herschel Walker out of some, dreams of fame and glory on the football field? Georgia has an open primary, so they're free to vote. But Herschel will get the nomination. The question is, in the fall, in November, will Black men vote for Herschel out of football allegiance, or will they vote their economic and social interests and vote for his opponent? It's going to be interesting to see, and I think quite telling.
C.K. Hoffler, what are you seeing? I mean, and we've got, let's not forget Stacey too. I mean, But the Herschel, I don't know what it is about the Herschel Walker, Raphael Warnock matchup. That's just interesting.
Well, I think that I mentioned earlier that I hope that he remains in the race, but I don't take it for granted. You know, football, as I know from personal experience, and Janet's math is absolutely correct. Football is a billion-dollar industry. It's like a religion to many, and when something is a billion-dollar industry and like a religion, then that means you will commit as much resources as you need to further that religion. And so long as that's the case, billions of dollars if necessary, certainly hundreds of millions if needed, or tens of whatever it takes, that money is going to be poured into the campaign for Herschel Walker. And that is, so we have to keep our eye on the prize. I do think, however, because of his history, and it's a sordid history, it's not a little bit sordid, it's very sordid, unfortunately for him, because, you know, people have mental challenges, I think that puts him in a different category. Mm-hmm. But he does have a sordid history, and that is going to come out. I think that will be his Achilles heel. And no amount of money is going to, I believe, sway voters to vote for him in mass, because of some of the things in his background that can't be overcome. The only question is, how significant is Raphael Warnock going to make those issues? That's the only question. Because if he goes for broke, if the Democratic Party backs him with that, then I think they will take essentially Herschel Walker out of the running, out from being a really formidable candidate. But they're going to be millions of dollars poured into, and already have them, into candidates. They have to watch it very closely. It's just very sad. I hate to see someone be taken to that when they have factors. They've been so used and abused and have factors beyond their control that are allowing them to use it this way.
You know, Attorney Jones, are you surprised? You know, the Secretary of State, the gubernatorial race, the U.S. Senate race. I mean, all of these races in Georgia and all around, but particularly in Georgia, because so many streams, social, political, and cultural streams flow through Georgia now, including shifting demographics. Are you surprised by this record-breaking early voter turnout? Even as they purge like crazy. You know, thank you, Brian Kemp. They purge voters like crazy, and it is harder to vote down there. It's just harder to vote now. Are you surprised by this record-breaking turnout?
Yeah, you know, Santino, I can't say that I'm surprised by the record-breaking turnout. I am certainly excited by it. I'm excited for the residents of Georgia that are turning out. You know, in the state of Georgia, they actually now lead the nation in registered eligible voters. So 95% of the eligible voters in Georgia are now registered. That's a direct result, I believe, of all the suppressive tactics that were being attempted to block those young voters, the black voters, the brown voters, from being able to be registered and to vote. But they lead the nation now. So I'm not surprised by that. And, you know, when we're talking about Georgia in addition, you got to remember that, you know, in 2020, 2021, it was Georgia that actually ended up flipping the Senate. When we had, of course, Transformative Justice was down there along with Black Voters Matters and the Georgia Coalition of People's Agenda and many other organizations that were really out there in the streets with the people, being certain that they were being pushed and encouraged to go out and vote. So that doesn't surprise me. And even today, you know, as we speak, and I know CK can speak to this, that in rural Georgia, and I will lift up Griffin, Georgia, where in Spalding County there, they were still being challenged with regards to access to the ballot box. And Griffin is one of those, has a significant black population that's in rural Spalding County, but they were being challenged with regards to being able to access the ballot box. So all the challenges that continue to be pushed at the Georgia residents hasn't succeeded in stifling their vote. It has succeeded in encouraging them to come out and be certain that their vote is counted, that they push forward with it. You know, in Georgia, we also had the incident in Lincoln County, where they were going to go from, and Lincoln County is a very, very rural county. where I have actually seven polling places that they're going to bring down to one. So the challenges in Georgia have been there, and the residents have been overcome it. So I'm not surprised at all. Not at all. Not for one moment am I surprised by the Georgians coming out and showing that they will vote. They're going to come out and exercise their voices and their rights.
Well, you know what? We got our own primary coming up in 35 days. You're not overexcited, State Representative Dalia Ramirez. I mean, this is a big deal. The final minute belongs to you.
I would say to people, you can already vote right now. And it's healthcare on the line. And it's our ability to be able to get access to healthcare. And it's our ability to get people who come from our communities, take this personal, to represent us in Congress. 13 women, that's all the Latinas out of 30 million of us in the entire country that are in Congress right now. I need your help to get there. A progressive and a proven track record for our community. You've got to get out and vote.
And she's got beautiful parents. Very quickly, your mother and your father in particular, how are they doing?
They're doing okay. I mean, my father, between trying to figure out things day-to-day finances, supplemental Medicare, he's also trying to find people that live in the district to make sure they get out and vote for their daughter.
He's going to campaign, even as he is working through cancer and working through his jobs. He is going to make sure his baby gets to Congress. Our parents never start taking care of us, but we are praying for the Ramirez family. We love you. We just want you to know, please give your father and mother special love for us. Special love. Special love. Oh, hey, you got it. Hey, I got a mom and daddy too. And I'm, that's just his mom and dad. And so we pray, but they are emblematic of what our seniors and what people in America are struggling with. They are working. Her father is working to regain his health, and he is campaigning for his baby. But with all of their jobs, they still don't have enough of a health insurance program. 15 seconds belong to you.
Santita, my mother cooks in the morning dinner so she can go be a home care worker right after that knock on doors, because she wants her daughter to get to Congress so that she can afford health care. This is what we need, people like me in Congress.
Boom. Mic drop on that. John Nichols coming up on the Santita Jackson Show. That was State Representative Dalia Ramirez. Back in a minute. Dalia?
Yeah.
Wherever you go, tell your parents' story.
I have to.
Wherever you go, you have to, okay? Wherever you go. I'm not just trying to pluck at the heartstrings. I just, it's an important story, and I want people to hear it here and wherever you go.
And there's a story of so many other parents in this country in this moment. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, you tell them, tell the story. Look, because Jonathan, my parents, when Johnny, Jesse, and I were born, our parents had nothing. So they had God, they had each other. But Jonathan was almost thrown out of, he was dying. He had a pneumonia that was killing him. And they said, the doctors told my parents that there was nothing else they could do while the pneumonia virus was eating his lung. And they were going to put him out. They were going to put him out the hospital. Well, my parents didn't have any money, and that's all there was to it. And my father called Dr. King, who he was about to go work for, who he was working for at the time. And Dr. King came in, and given his prominence, they kept my brother and let him live. So I'm, when I hear those stories, and plus, your parents, I just want to tell that story, okay? Just tell it.
I will. Thank you, Santita.
Sending you much love, okay? And come on back anytime.
I sure will.
Okay?
I sure will. Thank you.
All right. God bless you. Attorney Hoffler?
Yes, ma'am.
Are my people still there? Okay. I've got John Nichols coming up. Whew.
I'm here.
John Nichols, hey, sweetie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, look, it's a crazy, crazy day. We just had State Representative Delia Ramirez on. She's been induced by she's been endorsed by Chuy Garcia here, and she's a real progressive. I was just talking to her. Her father's got kidney cancer, and between her mother and father, they have 3 jobs and about half of an insurance plan. And she's leading in the polls, and stories like hers have to get to Congress. You know, they really do.
Yeah, no, I'm a following.
Yeah. So, but we C.K. Hoffler. She and Attorney Janice Mathis, of course, and Attorney Darrell Jones. Georgia is, of course, is on everyone's mind, but we still have Pennsylvania, which is what you're going to tell us about, and Texas. We don't know enough about the Cisneros race.
There is a lot going on, and Georgia is important. There's going to be a lot of action, obviously, on the Republican side, but then you've got these primaries, especially the congressional primary down there. There's a lot going on all over.
What is it looking like for Cisneros? I've been looking at the race, but talk to me just before we go out.
Well, that's a complexity because there's not a lot of good polling there. So the initial race was exceptionally close, and a lot has shifted since then. You've had, obviously Pelosi and others, Clyburn, coming strong for her opponent, but there's a lot of resources, and it's a big question of how the abortion issue will play. That's a complex part of the country, right? You have a very heavily Catholic area. By the same token, there are 15-second voters. So, the answer is we will know tonight, but we probably don't know right now.
Okay. All right.
Mrs. Harris is running a very good campaign. She's done a good job.
Hey everybody, it's Tuesday, bottom of the hour. You know what time it is. Actually, 7:34 Central Standard Time. John Nichols from The Nation magazine, their national correspondent, giving us the latest and the greatest on politics, helping us to see what we are looking at on this day, because we've been talking about Georgia, but we've got a big race and big races down in Texas. Indeed, throughout the South, where these voter suppression laws, well, they are from Maine to Mississippi. Just from Colorado to California to D.C., from sea to shining sea. It is getting harder for Americans to vote, and yet the early voting record has been broken in Georgia. Wow, because people are determined to vote. Some Republican, some Democrat, all determined to vote. And you know what? Whatever your party, I am excited that Americans are excited about being involved in this process. Otherwise, what's the republic for? We're not a monarchy, everybody. This is a republic, which means we all have to get involved in working in this American project. I'm Santita Jackson. It's WCPT, my home station here in Chicago, the largest progressive talk radio station, AM 950 radio, Chad Larson, and all of my people up there in Minneapolis, St. Paul. That's right, Gary Hines. Just missed his birthday from Sounds of Blackness, and sending you much love, Reverend McAfee, and all my people up there. Sending everybody so much love. Matt, I can't forget about you, watching us every day, part of my Morning Star crew. Let's talk about these elections. And before we do, I have some great news for you, everybody. COVID-19 hit everybody in between the eyes. And a lot of people are losing their homes, but they don't have to. They don't have to. The Oak Park Regional Housing Center has great news for you. Did you know that the Illinois Homeowner Assistance Fund is offering up to $30,000 of free money you do not have to pay back to pay your past due mortgage, property tax payments, or other housing costs? Now, that is if you were disrupted by COVID-19. So all you have to do is go to IllinoisHousingHelp.org. IllinoisHousingHelp.org to find out if you're eligible for up to $30,000 to pay your property tax payments, that are past due, your past due mortgage, your past due housing costs. You don't have to lose your home. You don't have to be homeless, everybody. The Illinois HousingHelp.org website will help you to find out if you're eligible. Call their office. Call their office at 773-887-5187, 773-887-5187. Hurry, hurry, hurry. The program ends on May 31st. $30,000 of free money to pay your past due mortgages, tax payments, housing costs if you fell behind due to COVID-19. Please call them today. John Nichols, you are joining Attorney Darrell Jones, of course, from the Transformative Justice Coalition. He is the chair. And of course, he and Barbara Arnwine will be on their radio show on WOL. And you can go to Barbara Arnwine, barbaraarnwine.com, and stream it tomorrow at 11 o'clock Central, 12 o'clock noon. And then, of course, we've got Attorney C.K. Hoffler rolling off of this show onto her own show at 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on the iconic WAOK radio station. And, of course, Greenville, South Carolina, that's right, Attorney Janice Mathis, the executive director of the National Council of Negro Women, of course, the Great Rejoice station in Greenville, South Carolina, the Salem Radio Network. But we're joined by the national correspondent for The Nation magazine. The book before the one he's got out now about coronavirus, The Fight for the Soul of the Democratic Party. It seems that we're fighting for the soul of the Democratic Party today, John Nichols, and we're fighting for the nation's soul, it seems, of course. And so talk to us about, we've been talking about Georgia, and that's garnering a lot of attention, as well it should. But there's something happening in Texas too. You've got this young woman who is running, and she has a real chance of not just making her mark or even becoming the Democratic nominee. Ms. Cisneros, talk to us.
Sure. Down in the border region, right in South Texas, Jessica Cisneros, who is a very, very ambitious and very savvy young candidate, ran 2 years ago and almost beat the incumbent Democrat in the primary. The incumbent Democrat's a guy named Henry Cuellar, and came back and this time forced him into a runoff. Tonight we'll see whether she pulls it off. And the thing about this race is that the incumbent, Henry Cuellar, was known as Trump's favorite Democrat. He is arguably the most conservative Democrat in the congressional caucus. He has a very shaky record on labor issues, a lot of economic issues, environmental issues, and he is considered to be, he tries to fuzz the margin a little bit, but he's the least pro-choice Democrat in the congressional delegation. And so Jessica Cisneros is running as a progressive, and she's got a real chance down there, and that's a very big deal. That's one of 3 primary runoffs today that are going to tell us a lot about the future of the party. The second one is in a neighboring district down in the Rio Grande Valley, and that's where a young woman named Michelle Vallejo is running with the support of the United Farm Workers, the Congressional Progressive Caucus, Elizabeth Warren, a lot of progressives, against a guy named Ruben Ramirez, who's a much more conservative Democrat. Again, that's one that will give us a real sense of where the party is going. And the third one is up in the Dallas area, in the 30th Congressional District. And this one hasn't gotten a lot of attention, but it's a really big deal. It's the seat that has been held for a long time by Eddie Bernice Johnson. And Eddie Bernice Johnson, a great member of Congress, is standing down. And a young legislator, Jasmine Crockett, has the backing of Eddie Bernice Johnson. She's running against a woman named Jane Hope Hamilton. And it's a really intense race down there. But it looks like Crockett's probably going to win that one. And if Crockett does, she will join the Congressional Progressive Caucus and be, I think, very much following Eddie Bernice Johnson's tradition.
And it's interesting you have these progressives and these progressive women who are surging, and they're surging in the South. Is that a significance, or am I reading too much into this?
Oh, no, it's not. It is significant. You're not reading too much in at all. Look, imagine how politics works, right? Politics has its establishment and its outsiders, right? In a state like Texas, a lot of the establishment historically has been male and has been older, right? So if you're a young woman, be you Latinx or African American or Asian American or whatever tradition you're coming out of, whatever community you're coming out of, if you want to get into politics, if you want to rise, you may have to take on older incumbents, as Jessica Cisneros is. You may have to take on a lot of the party leadership and the party insiders, as Michelle Vallejo is and as Yasmin Crockett is. And so you kind of fight your way in. And I think you're seeing a lot of that in Texas right now. And tonight's going to be a very definitional night. You'll see whether some of these young women make their breakthrough. And if they do, it's important to understand Texas is it's a mess of a state as regards gerrymandering. They have the Republicans have such control down there. They have gerrymandered a lot of the districts. But one of the byproducts of gerrymandering is that a district that has been drawn as Democratic is very Democratic. And so here you have a situation where, in the case of Crockett, if she wins this recall or this runoff, she will go straight to Congress. It's almost unimaginable that she could be beaten in November. Similarly, down in the Cisneros district, if she wins that nomination, she is very likely to go to Congress. And so these runoff elections become a big deal. And they are battles between kind of the more established Democrats and these young women, women of color, who are fighting their way in. And so we watch it with great interest because this is really, in many ways, where the future of the Democratic Party is shaped.
Let me just ask Attorney Janice Mathis, the Executive Director of the National Council of Negro Women. What does it mean when you have a Stacey Abrams, when you have a Jasmine Crockett, when you have Ms. Cisneros, when you have Dalia Ramirez, these women of color who come from, they don't come from privilege. They come from working people and poor backgrounds. And yet they're running. Stacey Abrams ran. She said, yep, I've been broke. I'm trying to fight my way through college debt. Yep, and I'm still going to offer myself up. People are coming with what at one time would have been flaws. And I'm going to kick it back to you, John Nichols, but I'd like to ask Attorney Mathis about that. What were perceived flaws are now becoming strengths. Attorney Mathis. Oh, is she still there? Oh, is she still there? Oh, she's gone now? Okay. Well, let me ask you that, Attorney Hoffler. I mean, these were flaws years ago, but now it's almost like a badge of honor that like, no, I don't have money just like you, and I'm here. And people are like, yeah, run, Stacey, run, and run, Mrs. Cisneros, and run, Miss Crockett, and run.
You're absolutely right. I think we're seeing the transformation, a necessary transformation, in my impression, of the Democratic Party, because when we see Black women being one of the strongest voting blocks, most reliable voting blocks in the party, they're a force to be reckoned with. And so when you have a Stacey Abrams who comes from that block, who renownedly endured against something like 97 or 98% of the Black women's vote, and who has a cross section of supporters, you see them soar. The same thing with our Latina sisters who are running. I think people are now looking to diversity of background, and a lot of times, when you have had come up the rough side and had difficulties, you have a passion or a fire in your belly for success, and that is what is appealing to people. It's not only if you come off the rough side, but certainly that resonates with people when they hear their story. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. So it's a combination of them being dominant, they're being part of a demographic that's a dominant voting bloc, and having the support of that voting bloc, and their story being told in a way that is so compelling now, especially given the skepticism that people have with politicians, the traditional politicians.
Well, before I get back to you, John, Daryl Jones, Attorney Daryl Jones, are you still there? My question for you is, what is the pushback by some black men on Stacey Abrams? Help me with that. I mean, I'm not gonna put it on you because you are very, very progressive in your thinking, and more than that, in your actions. But almost 100% of black women voted for her, but that was not the case with black men. What's going on there? Because we saw the black numbers rise with President Trump, and particularly with black men. What is that?
Yeah, with some black men, Santita, a large part of it is the machismo type thing. One of the things that was appealing to some black men with regards to Trump was just the sort of hyper masculinity type of thing, the aggressiveness of President Trump in terms of just his appearance and how he comes off hard. So you do have that segment of black men that certainly are focused on that, and they're attracted to the masculinity, the hyper masculinity of a Trump and a similar type of candidate. I don't believe that's the majority of black men. You do have just a peel off, if you will, of black men that fall in that ranking. But with Jasmine Crockett, I remember when she came to Washington, D.C., Barbara Arnold and I had an opportunity to be with her when the Texas legislature walked out to stop the voter suppression legislation that was then pending down there. And she is just continually proving herself, in my opinion, as one of those people that will stand up for the working class person and the everyday man or woman, the everyday person. And just a phenomenal candidate. So I was really pleased to hear that John Nichols said that she's doing so well on a runoff down there in Texas. And just one slight correction, folks can catch Barbara Arnold and I today. We follow CK's show, so we come on Tuesdays at 12 Eastern, Santita. But really, really psyched to hear how things are going down there in Texas and John Nichols' report.
Well, but John, we still have Pennsylvania, and you have the governor. I mean, talk to me about that. I mean, because it just seems that all of America. It's like we're red and we're blue. There's some purple here, but it's like you have people who, it's like Americans are of different minds about what we see and about the America that we live in. I mean, coming down even to the 2020 election and what it is that, I don't know if it is what it is that we want, but certainly our approach, something. What is going on in Pennsylvania? Because we still have the Senate race that's outstanding, even though President Trump said, okay, Mehmet, call it. Okay. And then you've got, and then you've got the governor's race. And then, of course, we're all praying for Lieutenant Governor Fetterman, who has a pacemaker, just had a stroke, but he's doing well and getting back out on the campaign trail. What's happening in that governor's race?
Sure. Well, look, first off, this is one of the important things that we need to do. We often, when we cover politics or talk about politics, we just kind of keep looking forward to the next election, or we get all obsessed with what's happening that day. Super vital what's happening in Georgia. Super vital what's happening in Texas. But we also have to recognize that, last week we had some primaries that set the stage for November, and they set up a lot of very powerful signals in Pennsylvania. For one thing, and I'll just reference up front related to some of what we were just talking about, Summer Lee won her congressional primary in the Pittsburgh suburbs, and she's going to be a remarkable member of Congress and a very, very impressive young woman. Again, young lawyer took on the party establishment and beat him. Also beat a lot of outside money that came into her district. They spent almost $3.3 million to beat her. And she won with a grassroots campaign, multiracial, multi-ethnic, emphasizing economic and social and racial justice. And so, you got some impressive people coming up. But at the statewide level, as you point out, in the governor's race on the Republican side, they nominated a fellow named Doug Mastriani.
and Doug Mastriano. And the thing to know about Doug Mastriano is he's an insurgent. He is an insurrectionist. He's literally one of the people who went to Washington on January 6th. He organized buses to go to the so-called Stop the Steal rally. He was at the rally, and more than that, after Donald Trump told his supporters to go to the Capitol, U.S. Capitol, and fight like hell to overturn the results of an election, to implement a coup, because that's what a coup is. It's when you displace the elected leader and put in somebody who is illegitimate. When he told his supporters to go to the Capitol and fight like hell, Doug Mastriano and the people with him marched on the Capitol. There's video showing Doug Mastriano crossing police lines outside the Capitol. And so what you have now is someone who participated in January 6th. He says he didn't go in physically to the building itself, but he was certainly on its periphery that day. Now he's the nominee for governor of Pennsylvania. And this is someone who says that if he becomes governor of Pennsylvania, he is going to continue to push the argument that Joe Biden wasn't elected president. He will also have the power to appoint the person who oversees elections in 2024. And imagine that. Someone who tried to overturn the election in 2020, now effectively overseeing elections in 2024. That's an incredibly dangerous candidate to have in that position.
But John Nichols, it seems like those are the options, right? I mean, we either go from the progressive to the very, it's progressive, it's precarious. It's progressive, it's precarious. I mean, what does that say about our, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just being alliterative today. What does that say about what is the state of American politics as you see it?
Sure. There's nothing wrong with being alliterative.
Thank you.
And this is pretty legitimate. We too, in fact, have, as we've all been discussing today, a rising progressive wave in Georgia, in Texas, in Pennsylvania. But we also have an extreme right. And so the truth of the matter is that our two political parties have, moved in very different directions in response to incredibly traumatic times. And I guess that's the thing we need to understand. This country has been through a lot of trauma in the last, 12, 15 years. We had an economic meltdown in 2007, 2008 that was the worst since the Great Depression. Then we went through, all sorts of, political turbulence. The election of Barack Obama, which was an incredible breakthrough, but then the 2010 Republican wave, the attacks on labor unions and all the things we saw in the period after that, the election of Trump, but then also the arrival of the coronavirus pandemic, now a period of extreme inflation, et cetera. All of this has an impact on people, and people start to look for answers. Now, some people are going to look for an answer that is forward-looking. They're going to want to look for and say, let's start to solve problems. Let's really start to address systemic racism. Let's really start to address the climate crisis. Let's really, start to educate about our history in ways where we have a much better understanding of how we got in this place and how to get out of it. And those are progressives. On the other side, you have reactionaries. You have people that don't want to go forward and actually react to all this change and say they want to go backwards. They want to go back to something they knew in the 1950s or the 1850s. And that's what's taken hold in the Republican Party. And we can't lie to ourselves about that. It is a deep, deep divide. And in states like Pennsylvania this year, we're going to have a true battle between the right and the left, and between progressives and, as you suggest, precarious. And how that plays out, will have a huge say, not just as regards the direction of Pennsylvania, just as Georgia's election won't just have a say about the direction of Georgia, because of the power that these people will have over the 2024 presidential election. How these elections play out will have a huge say as regards the direction of the whole of the United States in 2024.
Well, before we go, we've got Attorney Darrell Jones, Transformative Justice Coalition Chair, with us. People are voting today. give us some instructions if we run into any kinds of problems, John. And you know, people run into problems. They get up there, they find out their name's not on the voter rolls, or something that happens in the machine. I mean, all kinds of things can happen. You know, someone might want to offer you a cup of water, and that becomes an offense in some places. What should people do, Daryl, if they find themselves with any kind of problem while they're trying to vote today? In Alabama, Arkansas, some people in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, St. Paul, in Minnesota, and in Texas and Georgia, what should they do?
I think they should call 866 our vote. 866 OURVOTE 866 687 8683. That's the way to get your protection on, and stay there until your vote is counted. Stay there and persist by having your vote count.
And tomorrow, what time can we hear you?
Tomorrow we are on from 12 to 1. Today, Tuesday, we're on from 12 to 1 on BarbaraOnline.com. Today, Tuesday, BarbaraOnline.com from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, CK, when can we hear you?
You can hear me today at 10 to 11 Central Time, 11 to 12 Eastern Standard Time on WAOK.
All right.
In Atlanta, Georgia.
John Nichols, of course, your two great books, Coronavirus Criminals and Pandemic Profiteers, and The Fight for the Soul of the Democratic Party. The last 30 seconds belong to you, John. What do you want us to do today?
I'll just amplify what Daryl was saying, other folks. And that is, if you're in line to vote and someone's giving you a hard time, if you need a glass of water or whatever, the number one thing is don't get out of line. Don't let someone tell you that you can't vote.
That's right.
The bottom line is you have a right to vote, you have a right to be there, and you have a right to advance in that line until you get to the polling place and you cast your ballot. Don't let anyone dissuade you from moving forward, because that's how we get real progress in this country.
There you go, everybody. That's how we make change. You have to get out here and vote. Pulling for Jasmine Crockett and Miss Cisneros and Stacy and Raphael. And yes, there are people I prefer. There's no question about that. I just always want to be fair here. And Laura, just so that you know, I refer to him as President Trump because that is how we honor our ex-presidents. Even if I don't like their politics, I will honor the office. And as a human being, I'm going to honor you. I'm not going to do to you what I think you might do to me. Not going to do that. So let's keep it all elevated, everybody. Love you. Can't wait to be with you tomorrow, God willing, on the Santita Jackson Show. God bless you, everybody. Get out there and vote. Love you. John, I get asked that question a lot, and several people, and Laura's just sweet as she can be. I love her. But people have asked me why I call him President Trump. I said, well, I call President Obama. It's not conditional for me. This is on principle. You know, President Nixon was always President Nixon. I'm going to do that. You honor the office. You honor the time that they have served. There's someone said that to me about Marion Barry. We were at the Democratic Convention in 2000. And he said, I don't know why people still call him mayor. I said, because he's been the mayor. And you honor their service, right?
Yeah, I always have first reference to any of these people, give them their title. I mean, that is, I don't even know that we're honoring the office per se. It is simply an identifier. It is a way that we understand, who someone is, and we put them in perspective. And then, if they deserve criticism, we give them criticism. If they deserve praise, we give them praise.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's I wouldn't worry about that battle, whether we mention that someone is a president or something like that. What I hadn't worried about is, the deeper reality that Donald Trump wants to be president again. That's the fundamental here. It's not that he was president. It's that he hasn't given up on it.
Wait, John. Can you say Vichy? Look at Mar-a-Lago has become the Southern White House. What, San Clemente was the Western White House? You must go down there and pay homage, Dan. I mean, but that's, that's power, and that's, that's how that works. And Laura, I wasn't trying to call you out, just because she was so sweet. She said, understood. It's just, I've had that question so many times posed to me, and I just want you to know that that's how I do things. Even if I don't agree with your politics, that has nothing to do with how I'm going to treat you, respect you, even if you behave shamefully toward me. Now, I'm not saying that I can't get you. I can. But part of being mature is having control and learning don't go down to people. You stay right up here. That's what you're supposed to do. And then let God take care of the rest. And you will be surprised. God works it out with you. My Uncle Saint said, without you having to lift a finger. So you just stay right there. And thank you, girl. I love you. But I just want you to know, just in principle, he was the president. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. We argued. I mean, John, we wanted people. We were infuriated when people would call, when they refused to call President Obama. I know some people who refuse to call Reverend Jackson. And some people do it just to be disrespectful. Now, Reverend did get a full scholarship to go to the University of Chicago to get a master's in divinity, and that is what he eventually did. So, he is not an uncredentialed man. There's nothing wrong with that if you are, but that's not who he is. So, we disrespect people. I just don't do it. And, that's got to stop, John. It's got to. But like you said, the real point is he could head right on back.
That's the thing we have to be conscious of, and I think that one of the most important things, and then I'm here, I have to run off today as well, but one of the most important things about this show and what you do is that you entertain these discussions, right? We wrestle with it a little bit and figure out what the right way to deal with something is. And the best way to do that is by talking about it, right? And explaining why you approach something the way you do. Somebody can disagree with you, and you're very, very good about letting those who disagree have their say. But ultimately, I think in a society, for it to work, we have to talk about things we may not have all figured out, right? Or that we may be wrestling with, or that we may, have different opinions on. That actually is how we get to some kind of resolution. Our biggest problem today is that so many people end up, in one camp or the other camp. They never talk to anybody they disagree with about anything.
That's right.
And so, this is a wonderful forum and a really, really valuable forum. And I just appreciate it so much, and I'm glad to be with you.
Well, I cannot thank you enough for all of your support. You're part of this. I told you my father was approached by 3 of the doctors on his medical team, and they all mentioned you. They said, "Oh, and we love John Nichols, and we love John Nichols, and we love John Nichols." Each guy was like, everybody loves you, because I think that you do have a sense of fairness, a sense of fair play. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking for you to put the thumb on the scales for me. I just want to be fair, and I want to help to elevate the political discourse and our social and cultural discourse, because we've become so mean and small, cruel, unkind, ungenerous. And it is not right. It's not right. And let me tell you something about life. Your political foe today can be your friend tomorrow. Just keep on living. That's just the way life works. So, don't do unto others as they have done unto you. You're supposed to do unto others as they're supposed to do unto you, as they're supposed to. So let's stay right there on that. And let's continue to lift this dialogue so that we can eventually end up where we belong. Okay? So I love you all.
Terrific, my friend.
Oh, you're my friend and my brother beloved. I'm so excited. And, I just finished Coronavirus Criminals and Pandemic Profiteers. And it is just so great. I have marked it up. So I'm going to send you another one so you can autograph it, because you don't want to see this one. Because I bit pages. I think the book is twice as thick as it was, because I put so much stuff in it. Oh, my gosh.
so much.
It looks like a rainbow. All these sticky tabs. It looks like a rainbow. But it's a great book, everybody. But so's the absolutely. We've got to talk about it again because we are in this pharmaceutical industrial complex, and they're running the world, and they're making more money than ever before, and we've got to talk about that because they're not doing it. They're not lifting us up, John. They're not lifting us up. So
we have huge issues to deal with. Well, I'm going to let you finish off today.
Thank you,
and I
sweetie.
send you love and solidarity, and I will talk with you soon.
Love and solidarity to you and your beautiful family. Love you, sweetie.
Well, my love.
Thank you. Well, absolutely call them when you can. Love you, everybody. Coach May, thank you for being so patient today. Okay, sweetie? I think he might.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Have a good rest of your day.
Woo! Thank you, God. Yes, I love you all, everybody. God bless you. Cannot wait to be with you tomorrow. And thank you all for your support. I just love you all. Ashley King out of Memphis. Lorraine Stanley. What you say? That horrible echo feedback is gone. I'm trying to work on this. I'm gonna have to get another camera. Breaking my heart. And so I know Philip. I know is what driving you all crazy. But I could just be on Tyline, but I wouldn't be able to give you a picture. That is to say, you all would not be able to hear the callers. So that's why I'm doing the broadcast this way. It's kind of driving my station crazy. So I'm trying to work out something. I've been working very hard since the end of March, since I had these other issues. So we're working on it. We're working on it. I thank you for being so patient. And we're going to work all of this out. We're going to work all of this out. We're going to work all of this out. Love you, love you, love you. Okay. Love you, love you, love you. All right. Bye-bye.